Hey, welcome back to the podcast. Now, in my first episode, I talked about the top five most in demand careers in Agile for 2026. What I'm going to do in this episode is somewhat similar, but a little bit different. I'm going to specifically hone in on Scale Agile. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to do a quick review of the 2026 SAFe Career Snapshot. And if you're wondering what that is, what information is in that snapshot, and how can it benefit you, just stay tuned. I'm going to break that all down and hopefully answer your questions. So, what exactly is the SAFe Career Snapshot? So, I'm going to give you my point of view in terms of what I think the SAFe Career Snapshot is, and how it can possibly benefit a SAFe professional or an aspiring SAFe professional. Right? So, from my point of view, the SAFe Career Snapshot is a way to zoom in and get a view of the job market and career landscape for SAFe professionals. And so, how do they do that? Well, they do that in a couple of ways. So they break the guide down into a few different sections with key findings. And one of those findings pertains to, of course, AI, and how we've gone from it being introduced a few years ago to wondering how we're going to use it to now it's actually required, um, that you implement this as part of your way of working today, right? So not just using Gen AI as a glorified search engine, but have you been able to actually identify your weekly workflows, your daily tasks, aspects of those daily tasks that can be automated, and give you the best return. One of the other things they talk about is the preference of employers towards certifications versus experience, and being able to showcase the value that you delivered to the organization, the business, and their customers. Right. So we've gone beyond just saying I've got so many years of experience, right? But what have you done with that experience? And what significant role did you play in terms of delivering value to the business? So that's going to be a big part and a big change in how the job market looks today. Another item that they have in the career snapshot that I thought was useful was career path and career progression information. How do you actually obtain one of these safe roles? And then as a beginner, how do you move into that intermediate level after you got some experience under your belt, you've done some things? And then how do you actually start to gain more skill and certifications to move into the more advanced levels of SAFe? Uh, they did a terrific job in terms of lining that up. Now, I'm not going to actually hone in on that today on this episode. I'm going to release another episode where I talk about that and really go in depth on it. And I'll actually even show my career progression as well, being going from hands-on in IT systems engineer to product owner and scrum master, RTE, agile coach, and we'll really kind of break all that down and talk through that. In this episode, I want to say stay focused on some things that can help you get into one of these roles and move up into the intermediate ranks and then the more advanced levels of SAFe as well. So we'll focus on that. What they also did is they really double clicked on each individual role and gave some good information on each of these roles. I already talked about the employer preference for certification versus experience. Also, the differences in salary between SAFe certified personnel who have these roles versus non-SAFe certified personnel. They talked about the most popular work environments for each of the roles, and also the most popular industries and verticals as well. Okay, so with no further ado, let's go ahead and get into the 2026 SAFe Career Snapshot. Okay, so as promised, here is a look at the 2026 SAFe Career Snapshot. And I did have an opportunity to look through this earlier. So I'm not going to go through every detail here in this guide, but I'm just going to hit what I consider to be the most important points. Background and methods. And this kind of covers how they, the methods they use to obtain the information, and the six safe roles here. And Scrum Master, Agile Coach, Product Owner, Product Manager, Release Trained Engineer, Architect. So that's all good. But what they're going to do with each role is give you some important data points, like as we discussed earlier. Um, and what are employers looking for with these roles? In terms of certification versus experience. What are the salary differences between those who are SAFe certified and those who are not? Um, what are the ideal environments, or the environments that each of these roles are most likely to be working in? You'll see that, and also the industry or vertical. Which industries or verticals are these roles most prevalent in? So we'll see that as well. But the thing here I wanted to look at is, although I'm not going to cover this in this episode, like I said before, it is interesting how they came up with the career progression and career pathing here that they did here. So they named these things pretty simply here, but I think there's a lot of meaning in here. So I want this job is the first one here. So this is kind of when you you're very new to SAFe, obviously, and you've probably just taken your SA or your leading SAFe and obtained your SA, and you're still trying to understand the fundamentals of SAFe and how it can be implemented, and you've got some curiosity in terms of what role you would like to actually try to obtain. And the next one is, I want to grow. I see this as more of that intermediate level where you've gotten that role, and maybe you've gotten some experience on your belt, a year or two or whatever, and now you're looking to solidify that with the role-based training and certification. So I would see this as, if you're a Scrum Master, this is where you get your SSM. If you're a product owner, this is where you get your PLPM, because you've done it for a little bit, and now you can actually solidify what you've learned with the certification here. The next one here, I want to advance. This is where on this one here, I see this as someone who has gotten 5+ years experience under the belt. I would say 5 to 10 years experience under the belt, and they're looking to get into more of the advanced area. So if you're a Scrum Master, you've already gotten your SSM, you've got a few years under your belt. This is where you go ahead and take that advanced Scrum Master. If you are a product owner, this is where you may aspire to be a product manager, or you may already be one. And you go, this is where you would actually extend your POPM knowledge and take the APM, the Agile Product Manager, which is an advanced version of that. And that's kind of how I see this. You're the aspiring Scrum Master who maybe you've already taken your SASM, your advanced Scrum Master, and you're looking to be an RTE, and that's your next move here. So release trained engineer. And what they did leave out is, and I don't know if they were planning to include this into advance. I want to advance, but the SPC, the advanced SPC, and the SPCT, which are considered to be expert level, were left out here. But one thing I did see here and notice is that they were going to address the Safe Practice Consultant, the SPC, on its own. And interestingly enough, they're also going to examine the Safe Agilist. If you've taken the implementing Safe course, basically you'll get the SAA certification. So again, that's that foundational knowledge there. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, so key findings. This is really interesting as well. I won't get into the details here, but the thing is, some of these key findings are, they're really telling, because when you think about this, 5 years ago, possibly even 3 years ago, a lot of these items were not a consideration. So certainly not Gen AI, right? A few years ago, Gen AI was introduced, and it was kind of a people were trying to figure out if this is a novelty or this has real staying power, and it's got a lot of usage. It's powerful and a lot of fun. And we went from that to companies trying to understand what is the actual business case for this, and now we're at a point where it's beyond that, and it's become part of it's become interwoven into the fabric of how we actually do work today. So that has definitely changed the landscape, and also the fact that coupled with that are the layoffs that we've seen from these different tech companies. And what that means is that it's become much more of an employer's market versus an employee's market. So, um, and that leads us to the fact that it's not just the certifications are fine, but that's not enough. The experience is fine, but even that is not enough. So, and we'll talk about that later. So, the but these are key findings here, and again, there's some details once we get to the summary that we'll kind of follow up with this and circle back on this. So, okay, so I just want to show you an example. Again, like I said before, I'm not going to go through every single role, but I do think it's important here to note what's being discussed for each role here. And this is going to, again, this is applied to each of the roles. You guys can take the time to read this in the role regarding the role that you're interested in. But as an example here for Scrum Master, so what are employers most interested in? Experience or certification? So here in this case, for Scrum Master, certification, and versus 60% for experience here, which is kind of that's interesting. Um, and again, like I said before, the career pathing and career progression information here is very useful. But I'm not going to spend a ton of time or any time on that actually this time around. But you can also see the difference here in salary between SAFe certified personnel and non-SAFe certified personnel here. And I think what's even more telling here is the most likely work environment for the Scrum Master here. So it's a hybrid environment. And then also the vertical or the industry is government and defense, followed closely by IT and consulting. So these are really telling things about this role here. So the career outlook and what are the career recommendations based on that outlook here. So say certifications do pay off. Uh, I think we've seen that here in this guide. I've seen that in my own career as well. Um, don't take these safe certifications lightly. I know a lot of companies are able to pay for the enterprise licensing, and therefore internally you're able to receive this great training and certification without coming out of pocket for it. Not everybody has that luxury, but if you work at a company that has enterprise licensing, that's great for you. But that does not lessen the importance of these certifications here. As we've seen, there's a difference between safe certified personnel and non-safe certified personnel in the same role. We saw that with Scrum Master, there was a $21,000 difference there. Strengthening your AI fluency, right? So here's what I'll say on that. A few years ago, like I said, when Gen AI was introduced, um, maybe about a year later, I started thinking to myself, man, this is these are really powerful tools. This is really catching on. Am I going to have to completely reskill and forget everything I've learned before? It sounds ridiculous, and I've had to do that before a couple of times in my career actually. And then I realized, no, that's ridiculous. The best thing for me to do is to adopt this technology, adapt to it, and add it to my tool belt, add it to my skill set. Whether you're a Scrum Master, Agile coach, a product manager, or product owner, this is the time to figure out. Well, actually, we're almost past that time now. You should have already figured out how you're going to be able to best use these Gen AI tools to enhance not only your role, but enhance the team delivery um, and their ability to deliver value to the customer and the business. Having the certification is nice, but it's not enough. Having the experience is nice, but that's not enough. We're at a point now where having both the certification and the experience are they're good, but that's not all you need to get you over the hump, right? We're at a point now where you're going to, as a safe professional, you're going to have to start showcasing and demonstrating how you were able to lead the teams in arts delivering value. What was missing when you got there as a coach or as a scrum master or as an RTE? What are the things that you did to specifically fill those gaps? Um, so those are the kind of things that you're going to have to start demonstrating as a state professional. So okay, so refine your technical enablement capabilities. Okay, so you've heard me say on this episode and my first one as well how important it is um, that as a safe professional that you have some technical background on information technology. With that being said, though, you're not the architect, right? We know that. So as a scrum master, as an RTE, um, as a agile coach, you're not the architect, but you should have the ability to comprehend the underlying infrastructure, the CDP pipeline. But you should know the difference between a monolithic application and a microservice, right? That's basic stuff. Um, you should understand the difference between, a holistic UI platform versus micro front end. Um, so that kind of thing. Understand the difference between, authentication and authorization. And the reason that's important is because um, in order to best coach and guide um, the technical personnel that you have to work with, you need to at least understand some of their language, right? If you can't, even if you're not, incredibly fluent in it, you need to understand it. Okay, so that was a look at the 2026 SAFe Career Snapshot. We covered quite a bit. So we looked at the career path and maturity. I want this job. I want to grow. I want to advance. We also took a look at some specific data points regarding safe roles, and we used the Scrum Master as an example. We took a look at the difference in pay between safe and non-safe certified personnel. We saw a difference of $21,000 there. We also looked at the most likely environment that Scrum Masters would work in, the hybrid environment. We also looked at the most likely industry that Scrum Masters would work in, which is government and defense. We also covered some key findings, and that's where we saw the career outlook and recommendations. And we covered some important items such as AI fluency, the value of the SAFe certification, demonstrating value, and technical capability. So the purpose of covering this snapshot is for the mid IT hands-on professional or that Gen X seasoned IT pro who's looking to transition into that second act. The idea here is to give you some ideas and some things to consider if you're looking at one of these roles to possibly transition into. So, with that said, I hope this has been helpful to you. Good luck on your journey, and we'll see you on the next episode. Hey, thanks for tuning into the podcast and the channel. If you found any of this content to be helpful to you, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss future episodes. Thank you.